So finally, we are about to localize our Flutter application. To do that, first of all, we need to go to the official documentation provided by the Flutter team. And here for the internationalization of Flutter apps, it's really a good document, and which it states that as February of 2020, this package, which is provided by the Flutter SDK, this Flutter Localization, supports 77 languages. So to start with Flutter Localization, first of all, what you need to do is to just copy this Flutter Localization and put it inside the dependencies after the Flutter SDK. So I already did that. I already put it here. Just make sure about the indentation. And one thing else that you need to add inside your application is this localization delegates and also supported locals. So this why we need these delegates. If you see, they already added these 3 delegates, and you can see it is written here, the elements of the localizations delegates lists are factories that produce collection of localized values. So what we have seen in the demo application, that here we have some components like this calendar. This is provided by the Flutter team. I mean, already it is an inbuilt component. So if we use that, these delegates, I mean, for the material and Cupertino, this will translate this material, I mean, native components into the specific language that our application is supporting. So to do that, first let's head over to main and add the supported locals, which is a list of locals. If you see here, it is a table of locals. So we can add the local, and first of all, it is the local, the key is EN, and the country, I'm going to use US. For the I mean, I will add another language called FA, and which is Persian, and I think it is IR. I'm not quite sure. Let me go here inside this language code ISO code and search for FA. It is FAIR, yes. And for other things like we are going to add Hindi and Arabic, so it is local AR, and for that let me grab a country for that. I mean, for AR or Arabic, I'm going to go with the Saudi Arabia, or it is SA. You can select any one, I mean any country. It doesn't matter that much. And also Hindi, I'm going to, for the Hindi, I think it is HI or Hindi. Sorry, let me, yeah, it is Hindi, it is IN. Okay, IN. So you can just select whatever language you want, and also the specific country. Okay, basically these are our list of supported locals that this application supports. Also, what we need to do is to add the delegates. You can see here we have localization delegates. So we have localization delegates, which are a list of delegates. I'm just going to grab these 3 because these are provided by the material SDK, and by pressing command dot, I'm going to import it. Okay, let me make the indentation. Okay, and as I mentioned, this delegates just does this part of what you can say, translating it to another language. Let me bring our application, and yes, we have it. Okay, so basically whatever we have done is, it's not going to do anything. We need to create a custom delegate for us, kind of like this one. If we go here, we can see that this delegates, I mean, for the English, for Hebrew, for anything, we need to use, or we need to create a delegate, a class to use a delegate to gives us the localized values that we want. To do that, I'm going to create a directory. Let me create a directory for that called localization. Call it as localization, and inside that I'm going to create a class called demo localization .dart, and basically this is a class demo localization which has a final local property called local, and let me create the constructor for this. And if we head to documentation somewhere here, it's talking about there are many things here, but somewhere inside here we have something like this. Yes, if we use a class demo localization, we have this demo local, and also we have this static method called demo localization off, because it makes us it makes a little bit our work easy. I mean, if we do not use this, every time we need to use localization of demo localization of context of demo localization dot translated value. So this is a really lengthy thing to do. So it is better to just copy and paste this method. Another thing that we need to add is here this localized values based on the specific language. Suppose we have EN and also we have ES for Estonia, I believe it is. So we can add this map, but if we do it like this, it will just become a lengthy file, and maintaining it would be a little bit difficult. To do that, it is better to just create something, create a kind of map of string values, map of string, which will gives us these localized values. I believe it is like this. The name doesn't matter. Let me grab it and put it here, because I just want to follow the documentation. And also it is better to just put these values inside a JSON file, and then load that JSON file inside our code and use it, because it is very it gives us flexibility to translate into another language, and also it is really easy to maintain it. To do that, I'm going to create another directory called lang, and inside this lang directory I'm going to create an en JSON, and for each language code I'll create a JSON file. Suppose for the what you can say, for the home page that we have here, we can have a home page key and also a value related to that. So if I put home page, and for the personal information here, for the personal information we can have something like personal information or info, and then we can have personal information, and it's for English, and we can just copy this value and create another language, another JSON file, sorry, and this I'll call AR for Arabic. And what I will do, I'll just paste the same thing here, but I will translate this value, the value, not the key, by using Google Translate into the Arabic language. Let me bring the Arabic, and it is, I think it's better to use Arabic. It's home page, and I'll keep the key inside the Arabic.json as it is, and I put the equivalent translated value of Arabic language from that English. Okay, let me put the personal file, and I'll put it here. Okay, I'll do the same for the Hindi and Persian language, and I'll come back to you because it's going to be a little bit lengthy. So I've added the the other texts like the name and also the name hint and email hint and everything. Basically the keys are here is the same, but the values are just translated to the a specific language. I mean, for the if it's, you can see that it is in here in for the Persian, and also for Hindi it is translated. I just did it by using Google Translate. And I just added one thing else. It is about us, and for this about us I used temporary text called lorem-sum, and based on every language I just copied this the first paragraph and put it here just for the about, which just wanted to show you how we can translate this this lengthy line. And just it is the same thing. If I go to the English, it is lorem sum, something like that. For the Arabic it is the same. Yes, so we have these JSON files, and these JSON files are basically an assets. To load these assets inside our Dart file, first of all what we need to do is just bundle it inside our what you can say inside the popexpect.yaml file. Already I did that. You can just uncomment your asset part and just add these JSON files there. So our JSON files are basically inside the lib directory, and then inside the another directory called lang, and then it is like enar and some and go on. Okay, so I already did that, and after that, after adding those things, what you can do is just restart your app, because you need to load these JSON files inside your application. And to load these JSON files, we can use a method, a future method. So I'll call it as load, and this load method is an async, because loading the data or just getting an asset into the Dart file is an async operation. So to do that, I mean, I'm going to use a string, and this will gives us the JSON string values, which is coming from the this root bundle. So root bundle, sorry, it is root bundle dot map. Sorry, dot it is dot load string. Something has a method called load string, and basically we need to give the key, and this key is the path to that JSON file. So our JSON file is inside the lib, and then we are inside the lang, and after that we need to use the local, which this local, and local dot language code. So it is really helpful to put your JSON files as the language code of that language. Suppose for en, it is en.json. Here we can just get it by using the just calling the local and the language code and .json. Okay, so basically it will load this JSON file, the equivalent JSON file, loaded by this local inside this Dart file. And what you can do, we have this JSON string, but right now we can create a map of a string dynamic from this JSON string, and this is a mapped JSON, and this mapped JSON is equal JSON dot decode. You need to bring the Dart convert, and also we want to pass the JSON string values. So basically it takes the JSON decode, it takes a string, and then return the map a string dynamic, or whatever it is, the map of dynamic something. And currently we will have a map of a string dynamic, but here for the localized value we need to have a string. So what we can do is to again put this localized values equal to mapped JSON dot map, and this map gives us a key and value. What we want to do is just create a map entry, and we'll have the key as it is, but the value we need to convert it to a string. So what we are doing in this method, in this load method, we are just loading the JSON files, put it inside the strings, and this JSON files is based on the selected language. Whenever we are selecting a language like English, so we'll load en.json and put it inside this JSON string, and from that JSON string what we are doing, creating a map of JSON, and then we are creating a map of a string and putting inside this localized values. Okay, so right now we have this part. We have this part, map of string and map of string, something like this. We have this part, and what we can do is like create something like this to get the title or something, but it is better to put it inside a method. I'll create a method called a string, and then this method will have return type of string, and I will just name it as .get value, get translated value, and this translated value will need to pass a key to that, and then this will return to us the translated value. So basically we'll return the localized value of that key. Okay, so we are almost done, but one thing else that we need to do is basically just we are loading the JSON files, but we need to have a delegate. We need to have a delegate to just just gives us, to load the localized value based on the selected language. So we need to create this delegate, but as we are accessing this delegate through this demo localization, we can create it as a private class by putting its class and demo localization delegate, and this demo localization delegate extends localization delegates of type demo localization, and as we extend this localization delegates, we see this squiggly line because this needs to override three methods, and these three methods are first the is supported, and then we have the load, and then we should reload method. For the should reload method, I think it is already mentioned here, that we have demo localization delegates of alt, and it returns false. I'll just copy this one and putting here, and alt. And for the supported locals, for the supported local, what we can see is just we put something there that inside the main file we have these 4 languages that our application supports, which is EN, FA, AR, and HE or HI. Sorry. For the supported locals, what we can say is just what we can do is return something like this one. So return en and list or array of so it is if AR and HI, if this dot contains a local of language code. Local.language code. So basically this supported local will gives us a local. What we can do is just putting this support languages that our application supports. Basically it is ENFA and IR, and we can put it here ENFA and IR if it contains this local, the past local.language code. Okay, so it's okay. And right now for the last part, what we can do is to create this to just put everything together and create this load function. Okay. So for the load function, we have a local, and what we can do is create a new demo localization, and this is localization is equal to new demo localization of this local. Basically, we are passing this local, and this local will pass through this constructor, and we have this local here. And by that, what we can do is just await, but this should be an async function, await localization dot load. And whenever we are calling this load function, what it does is just loading, calling this method load and loading the equivalent JSON file based on the past language that we have passed it to here, and also creating a map of localized values. Okay, and after that we are just returning this localization, and so that's it. So we are almost done, but we haven't used this class. So what we can do is we are accessing this demo localization. I mean this creating a static member of demo localization. So a static constant called static localization delegate of demo localization, and it's called delegate. So this delegate is equal to this demo localization delegate. So we are intended to just change these delegates through this what you can say demo localization, but we are just creating a constant, but this doesn't have a constant constructor. So constant demo localization. Okay, we're done. Okay, so we already have done this part, and this was the most important part to do. And right now what we can do is just go to back into our localization delegates and bring our demo localization dot delegate, and this demo localization delegates will give or just translate everything to us. Okay, and the last part that we need to do is to create a callback resolution, something we have local resolution callback, and this local resolution callbacks will gives us a local or a device local and also the supported locals. So it will gives us the device local, and whenever we are changing the language, the app language will give the device local and also the supported locals. Okay, so we can check if where local in supported locals for not if for, and what you can see, if this local dot language code is equal to device local dot language code, and this local dot country code is equal to local dot device local dot country code, then we are our app will support this language. What we can say is just return this local, I mean device local. Otherwise you can see it needs the function has a return type local. Otherwise, if it is not true, what we can do is return supported language supported locals dot first, the first local. I mean in this case it is English. So we are almost done, and the last part that we need to do is here by just selecting a language, we need to change the local language, but currently it is not functioning and it's not working. To do that, what we need to do is to just change this stateless widget into a stateful widget by just hovering on it and then click on it and then pressing command and dot. We can just convert it to a stateful widget, and then this will have a state that we can change. And so what we can do is to create a local, and this is a local, so we can put our local, this our material app will have a local that we can change and equal to that local. So I will make it as a private variable, and that's it. But now this local is null. I mean, it's undefined or null. So basically what we want to do is to find out a way to change it from anywhere inside this app. To do that, it is really easy to go back to our home page, and inside the pages, inside the home page, we have this drop down, this custom drop down that we already implemented, and here we are getting the language. So to change that, to change the language, what we can do is first of all create a temporary local. So I'll call it temp, and this local will switch language dot language code, and we check if case it is en. Then what we can do is temp is equal to local, and the local of this language dot language code, and for the country we can put US, and for the other case, if it is FA or Persian or Farsi, what we can say, the temp is equal to local of language dot language code, and for the country IR. So the same thing we can do for other two countries. So the case if it is AR, it is SA, I think. Let me check it. Yes, it is. And for the AR it is SA, and for IN or Hindi it is IN. So for the HE it is IN. So we are mostly done, but I'm not sure why it is last statement shouldn't be break. Okay, we can use break. Okay, so for default, if none of this satisfy, we can just create it like this. If it's not in the selected values, what you can do is just passing the language as what? As the US. So what right now we have only a local, but we are not able to change the language. To do that, I'm going to use the my app dot set local, which is not existed yet, and this will pass the context temp local temp. But this set local does not exist in our main, and to do that, what we can do is to create a method called set local, and then a static method to be able to just use it. So static, and this is void. So it's called set local, and it requires a built context of a context, and then also a local, which is local. And this method, what it does is, first of all, it will find the my app state, this state, and to do that we can just have this one, the my app state, which is state is equal to, by using the context dot find ancestor of a state of type, and sister state of type, and the type of this state should be this my app state, I mean this one, to find that. And by using that, what we can do is a state call, a method called state dot set local, which is not exist, and passing the local to it. And so we can create, so we'll have something called void set local, which requires a local. What this method does is called the set state, and this set state will create this one, local x equal to this local. Okay, so finally we are able to change the language of the application. Let's try. And I don't know why it is hanged. Let me restart it. So if I select it Persian, yes, it is, the direction is changed, but as we do not use the translated values, so currently it's changed the direction but not translated the values. To test that we are getting the actual values, what I can do is just go to the home page, and I can use that demo localization. Let me bring this class, demo localization dot of context, and dot we have dot translated, get translated value, sorry, get translated value, and we can just pass the key. Let me find the key for this personal information, I mean for the home page. For the home page, it is home page, and I can go back to the home page and put the key. So let's see, yes, we get the translated value. So let's do the same for this personal information we have here. So for the personal information, what we can do is like just copy this personal info and come back to the home page. Okay, so finally we are able to translate it, but as we can see, it is not that much neat and clean. Every time we need to call this demo localization of context and get translated value, which is not that much okay. What I will do inside the localization, I'll create something that localization constants, I mean for the localization constant, I call it constants. You can call it anything you want, and for that what I will do is just I'm creating a method to get the translated values, because it is really easy to get the translated value, and for that it will return us a string, and this string is called get translated, and it requires us a built context, a context which is context, and also a string key. So what we are going to do is return demo localization dot of context dot get translated value of that key. So I think it is right now really fairly easy to do, and if I go back to the home page, what I will do, I will remove this one, and what I will just bring the localization constant, and here I'll pass the context and also It is, I believe, personal info. Let me copy it and come back here, paste it here. So we are getting the same result. So it is right now better to just every time call this get translated and pass the context and also the key personal info. Let me do it for this where it was. Yes, it is here. So it is home page. What I can do is just put home page. Okay, so finally we are able to do, I'll do it for the name and also for the name hint, and I'll stop the video and then you can do it the rest yourself. Okay, for the name, let me put it here, get the translated value, and this is name, and you can see that, I'm sorry, it is this is not required. We can see that it's translated, and also for this one get translated, and it is name hint, I believe. So let me double check it. It is name hint. It is okay. So I'll put it here. Okay. So okay. So you can see that it's right now translated. If I change it to Arabic, yes, it is translated to Arabic, and if I change it to Hindi, you can see that the text direction is changed and also the values are translated to that. Okay, but here is a problem. Right now, if I change the language to Persian or suppose it change it to Hindi and just close the app and open it again. I mean, right now it is not closed. Let me close it and open it again. It will gives us this error. It will gives an error that it's called on null. This is coming from the main method. I mean, the main method, we have this local which is not instantiated, and here like we are using it. I mean, the language code on this device local, but it is null. So why this is happening? Because we are not persisting the selected language that is selected by user. So to do that, I am going to do it in the next video to persist the language. And thank you for watching this video. Just follow me along with the next one. Thanks.